Hello, my name is Zach. I'd like to first off thank you for tuning into this video, whether it's something I shared with you or whether you stumbled across this video on YouTube or maybe you had a friend or someone share it with you. I thank you for taking the time to listen. I'm going to share today a testimony, my testimony, and really it's just the Lord's testimony of my experience that I had. Many of you watching know me. Some of you do not know me. Some of you know me for a long time before I came to the Lord. I'm sure as a lot of people see on Instagram, there's some changes in the stuff I posted in the last year. And some of you don't know me before that, and that's all you've known. But on the outset, I just want to say, just to kind of give people who don't know me an idea of what kind of person I was before I came into the Lord. And I was a very rational person, didn't care for religion, did not care for religion. If anything, I found religion extremely offensive. I thought religion was and still do in many ways, man's attempt to quantify God through the narrow capacity that we have. It's the Bible, everything about really just Christianity. It was something that was in my heart toward Christians, to those who believed in Jesus. And I was really offended by many of the teachings, the idea of there being a hell, their idea of people being sentenced to eternal condemnation by a God that loves us. And I just could not wrap my mind around that, and I didn't want to be any part of that. I thought people who went to church were fools, narrow-minded people that didn't have any kind of constructive thinking, and who just kind of buy into something that I thought was a lie. And I remember I'd have Christians knock on my door trying to hand out pamphlets. I'd be incredibly rude to them, incredibly rude enough where I hope they never knock on my door ever again. There was a hate in my heart, I think, toward religion. And I remember driving down the freeway. There were signs, I remember, on the freeway, on the Highway 99 where I live, that had signs posted up, "Turn to the Lord or burn in hell." And I would get so angry, so upset when I read that. So one of these days I'm gonna pull over, I'm gonna yank those down, you know. And what a lie, and what a narrow-minded way of thinking, that people could actually believe that kind of stuff. Didn't really think much about Jesus. Didn't really think much about it at all. It was not something I sat around and thought about, but when I did not like it. Like I said, I wasn't raised in a church home, never owned a Bible, never turned a page in a Bible, didn't want anything to do with the Bible. If someone brought a Bible around me, get it out of my face. I don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. And that's really who I was, really, truly who I was. Not really sure the exact time, but I would say late September of 2000 last year, so 2015. There's nothing spectacular really that led up to anything. It was just a normal average day for me. I was sitting down watching TV or playing a video game. I can't remember what I was doing. I remember being on the couch and watching TV. And it was a day that I'll never forget. And on that day, and I want everyone who's watching this to keep in mind what I'm going to describe is something that truly is undescribable. There are no words that I can come up with to justify or to even remotely touch the experience that I had. So just automatically, whatever it is I say, it's it's undescribable. It's a poor attempt at trying to explain something that's truly unexplainable. I don't have the vocabulary, and so just forgive me if I stumble for words, because it's hard for me to, every time I've given this testimony, I feel I'm stumbling for words to try and describe something that's really undescribable. So just bear with me. As I was sitting on my couch, and mind you, every single person, and something that was unknown to me at the time, I didn't know this, every single person on planet Earth, all 8 billion people, however many people there are, every single person has a spirit. Your spirit is dormant. It is dead. It is, there's nothing that's going to take place in your average everyday life where you're going to feel it. It's in there, but it doesn't do anything. You can't feel it like we can feel our hands. It's not something that you're going to feel with the 5 senses that we have. But we all have a spirit, and it's important to understand. And this is even for people who believe in Jesus and people who practice religion. You have to understand that God is a spirit. And when he communicates to us, he communicates to our spirit, which is dead. It is dead. It is dormant. It is, I always found the best way to describe it is like a bell. And even though a bell can ring, unless it's rocked, it just doesn't do anything. It just stays there. It's motionless. It does not ring. It's a ringless bell. And that is a state of every single person on earth. And so when I give this testimony, everything that happened to me in spirit. My bell was rung. And it's hard, and I'll do my best to describe what my experience was like. But as I was watching TV, just sitting on my couch, I felt a spirit enter into my spirit. And it was a thing where you immediately know. There is no, what was that? Or, I feel a little bit different, or what's going on. It was like being hit over the head with a sledgehammer, and that is an understatement. As the spirit entered my body, it started from the top of my head, and just like water just moved its way down my whole body. And as this was happening, as it started, it was like my whole body was just vibrating, ringing in my ears. It's like my body came to life. It was like something inside, in the most deep part of us as a being. It was just something came out, and it filled my body. And it was the kind of thing when it happened, I immediately jumped up. I remember just sitting upright and just thinking, oh my gosh, I'm having an aneurysm, or something's wrong. I wanted to just run to the hospital. I'm about to die. And it was an undescribable feeling. And as this happened, and it took just a moment for this to happen, my whole body became alive. And as it happened, it's hard to explain. I received a message immediately received a message. And mind you, the spirit is not like anything like how we communicate. The spirit does not communicate the way we do. It doesn't, it's not a thought. Whereas when we have thoughts in our mind, it really is a beginning and an end. You have a thought process when we even think. It's a thought with a beginning, and it's at the end when we communicate with each other through words. It's a sentence that has a beginning and an end. When the spirit communicates, there is no beginning and there is no end. And I know it sounds weird and it's hard to describe it. It can only be experienced. It's not something that man or a woman or anyone can explain to another person. It can only be experienced. And it's I want to call it a revolution. It's a cycle, it's a circle. It has no beginning and it has no end, but it's continual. It doesn't stop. The message doesn't stop. It's a continual revelation. And the word revelation is something that I found out later on. I didn't know was happening at the time. I was very scared and very confused when this was all going on. That was what was happening. I was very confused because it's a very unusual thing, very unusual experience, highly strange. And this message just starts churning. Is the only word I can use to describe. It's like a churning. And it's just saying over and over and over. And the way the Spirit communicates is through emotion. It's not your thoughts. It's not in your mind. It's in your spirit. And to those of you, most of you, if not everyone watching this video, unfortunately, you just have to get to a place. You know, I was lucky, very blessed, because I am 33 years old and I lived dead up until that day. Dead. Every single person watching this video, we are dead. We are alive, but we walk and are spiritually dead. And the awakening, the spiritual awakening, it comes from above. It cannot be manifested. You can't make it happen. You can't force it to happen. It is something that is given. It can only be given, and it's a gift. And I thank the Lord every single day. I thank the Lord for what he did, because he didn't have to, but he did. And mind you, as I tell this story, remember what I said on the outset of my life and how I felt and how I thought. There was nothing, there was no literature, there's not anything anyone dropped off on my doorstep. There wasn't some guy who put a thought into my mind. And nothing like that was going on. And the revelation that I received was there is not enough time. That was the message over and over. There is no time. There is no time. It was the weirdest thing. I immediately began pacing my apartment, and I couldn't comprehend that the Spirit is so overwhelming. It's not something you can get up and walk away from. It's inside of you. And this message was just no time. There's no time in it. It was like this desperation in your heart, in the most deepest parts, the most deepest part of us, of me. And it was almost like there's no time, like I need to do something, but there is no time to do it. Almost like where my keys, I have to be at work, or the bus is coming, I'm going to miss a bus or a plane trip. It was the deepness of the Spirit is you just cannot describe it. And I was pacing my apartment, just pacing, just grabbing myself, and I just couldn't. It was overwhelming. The message was overwhelming of just no time. There's no time, Zach, and it was continual. And all this is going on in my the physical, the spiritual. All your senses are just going off. Bell is intense experience, very intense. And I paced my apartment, and I was confused. I didn't know what was going on. I was very, very scared, very scary, because I'd never experienced anything like it before. And this message and everything I'm describing stayed with me for, and I'm not sure how many days that this went on for, but at least 5 days. For at least 5 days, maybe 4, maybe 7, I can't remember. But as I was receiving this message, and this is all day, mind you, you can't do anything. I could not do anything. I could not function. I couldn't focus. I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't play a video game. I couldn't go out and leave my house and do something. It was oppressing. It's like your spirit being awakened. Like I said, it's like a bell, and just having that bell rung. And spiritually, this is a metaphor, but it was like having your spirit placed against a wall and being held up by this thing. And I don't know what it is. Didn't know what it was at the time. Had no idea. Wasn't thinking anything about what it was. But being pressed against a wall. Okay? Being held against the wall. You can't move. You can't leave and go and do something or go on a walk and shake it off. This thing was on me. It was on me, and it was pressing my spirit. It was like a steady pressure of just its presence being pressed and being completely helpless and being completely at this thing's mercy. Because at the time, that's all it was. It's just a thing. Being at its mercy, not able to do anything. And this went on for days. That whole first day, me just pacing, I remember almost you couldn't take it. You just wanted it at the end. It wasn't pleasant. I didn't enjoy it. It was just this press. It was just on me. It's like a hammer just hitting me. And it was continual. The revelation never stopped. It was an all day of just no time. And I began to question me, just being a rational person, question what I was going through, questioning my own self. I remember the first things I was thinking was something wrong with me. Something wrong with me. There's something psychological or something I was just rationalizing. And it continued the entire day. The following day, waking up, and it was almost like this thing, you can feel its presence in my house. And I remember I would wake up in the morning, and it was almost like it was sitting watching me sleep. And as soon as I woke up, it would just hit me again. And it would just press, no time, not enough time, not enough time. You have no time. There is no time. There's not enough time. It was just this relentless no time. And it was just on me, and it became more intense. The longer, and as the days would go by, it became more intense and more unbearable, to the point where, I was stripped down to my underwear on my couch, wrapped in a blanket. And this thing was just punching, just on me. There's no time. And every day it got stronger, and every day it began to strip something away from me. Who I am, who Zach is as a person, everything about my person, my personality, or what I am, everything that you hoist inside of you and your heart and your mind, everything about me just as an individual, it was just stripping that away. It was just taking away and taking and taking and pressing and pressing. And I thought I was losing my mind. Zach, you're losing your mind. You're going crazy. And I couldn't share with anybody what was happening to me. People would think I'm crazy. I think I'm crazy. I didn't want to share it with anyone. Didn't want to call anyone. Didn't want to anything. I was so terrified of what someone would think if I were to tell what's going on. And as it would go on, it was just more intense, breaking me down, just breaking me. That's what it was doing. It was breaking me, and it was pressing me, and it was taking away my very humanity. And I know as you're watching this, it sounds crazy to listen to. I hear myself talking. It sounds wild. And even knowing that, I just still know that it doesn't even justify the experience in itself. Much more crazier experiencing it than hearing it through a message, a video on YouTube. As the days would go on, it was getting to a point, I remember, where I would just cry. I would wake up and I would just cry, and I would be in tears all day and wrapped up in a blanket and shaking, trembling, just trembling at its intensity and the power of its presence inside of me, of just no time, no time. And it got to a point toward the end where I had completely been, everything about my person was just gone. It was gone. There was nothing left of me. There was nothing left. It had stripped everything away from me to the point where I was just a pile of just flesh and bone. I was just just helpless on my couch, just laying there in tears. And I wanted to go away. Leave me alone. I want my life back. I want to be left alone. What's happening to me? These are the things I remember just thinking, leave me alone. And one night, I remember laying on my couch, and as I'm laying there, I just gave up with the resisting. Was what I was doing, is I was resisting it, and I gave up my resistance. And I remember just letting go to this thing. And I remember on my couch just, what do you want? And just finally letting go is something I could not have done prior or any time before that. Before anyone says, well, I didn't do this. It was something I had to be taken there to a point spiritually and mentally where there was nothing left of me, where it was a letting go. And I remember laying on my couch, and the revelation, and mind you, this thing is going. It doesn't stop, and it just stopped. And I remember laying there, and it changed. The message changed, and it started churning. Let go. Let go. And I was in shock, because this thing is communicating with me. I just let go and just submitted myself to it. And the message changed. So that in itself was powerful. It was very powerful. This thing is communicating. Something is changing. And it was saying, let go. Let go. Let go. And I said, let go of what? Let go of what? Just out of despair. I remember just like from the deepest possible way, let go of what? And they said, let go of your father. And at the time, my dad had been diagnosed with cancer that year. And I remember just taking a deep breath and just letting go of my dad. And it changed, and it said, let go of Miriam, who was my stepmom. Miriam had 2 brain surgeries within a month, and she wasn't doing well. And I took a deep breath, and I let go of my stepmom, and let go of your brother Josh. My brother Josh was my best friend, and I always worry about my brother Josh. He's always in my heart. I'm always thinking about him. Just let go of Josh. I remember letting go and just having just this moment of peace. And this is nighttime, and then boom, I'm out. This thing, I'm just out. I don't remember anything after that. And I woke up in the morning, and it's not pressing me. It's not on me, but I can feel his presence. It's hard to explain when I say feel the presence, because this is in the spirit. This thing is a spirit. And my spirit is awake, alive and well. And it's like a sixth sense almost, where you can feel without seeing, without hearing, but you know where this thing is, and you can just feel it all around. I could feel it everywhere, but it wasn't in me. It was just in my apartment. And I remember it was just a really awkward feeling, and really weird that day, just kind of hanging out and just kind of feeling halfway normal, but comprehending, trying to wrap my mind around what was going on and the night before. And well, this thing comes back in me, hits me again in the afternoon, and it's the same message as the beginning. There's no time. And this time I was a little bit less resistant because I'm grasping there's something going on. There is something. This isn't me. Something is going on. This thing, what? I wanted, what? We don't have enough time. Like, what is it? And I remember that day. It was a beautiful day. Beautiful day. Blue sky. And it came in with the same, like I said, the message of no time. And with all my heart, not enough time for what? Not enough time for what? And then immediately I was brought into a remembrance, where something was brought before me from my past. And it was something I had said to God. And I don't know how old I was when I said it, but I had said it and I forgot about it. It was many, many years ago. But me telling God something, the gist of it was basically, when I get old and I'm an old man and I'm sitting on my, rocking chair and I've lived my life, I'll get right with God. And that was pretty much it. When I'm old, I'm going to live my life, and we'll get this thing right. When I got grandkids and all that kind of stuff, we'll get this thing right. But I'm going to live my life. And that's what was brought into my remembrance. That was brought up out of me. And almost like answering a prayer 10 years later. And that was the message, is you're not going to have enough time. In other words, you're not going to be an old man on a rocking chair and you don't have enough time. You do not have enough time. That really just hit me. Not having enough time. And even as I'm telling this right now, let that be a warning to every single person watching this. What that means. The fact that I can even sit here right now and say that to you, and knowing that what I'm saying is true, and knowing that what I'm saying is not for me, is not from my own mind. This isn't out of my imagination. This is something that came from somewhere else. And if I don't have enough time, nobody does. There's a sense of urgency. A sense of urgency. And when that was brought into my remembrance, I remember just being floored and not really knowing how to think, what to think about that, what that meant. Still, and I'm going to say right now, even still right now, I'm not thinking about any religion, okay? I'm not thinking about anything like that. None of that stuff is going through my mind as this is happening. And, I remember after it had revealed and brought into my remembrance something that happened so long ago, it began churning more. It's churning now, and it's churning, and it's telling me to go outside. Go outside, Zach. Go outside. And so I remember, it's funny now I think about it, I'm in my underwear, like I said, and just being completely broken. Like what I was saying, totally, there's nothing left inside of me that is, Zach is gone now. Zach is off. He's not present, it's just me, my spirit, in the most deepest way I can't explain. It's just my spirit, and it's just this thing, because that's all it is right now. It's just a thing to me. It's just me and it. And I'm devastated. I'm broken. I'm tired. I'm not eating. I'm just without strength. I remember carrying myself and just finding the strength to carry myself outside on my balcony in my apartment, and just sitting down on the chair that's out there. And as I'm sitting down, my view from my apartment is just a beautiful day, Just a regular day. It's beautiful blue skies. Beautiful day. And I have a view of the whole sky, the horizon. And I'm just sitting there on the chair and just looking and just being so just broken, so broken. And there is a message in itself of that, that I had to be taken there. Everything that was going on with me was leading up to this point. Okay? It's leading up to this moment. This whole message, this whole me sitting here, this is the pinnacle. This is the where it all ends, where it all began, I should say. And I sit on the chair. It's a wooden chair, and I just look at the sky, and it's a beautiful blue sky, and there's a cloud. There's a cloud. There's just a single cloud, and it's just stagnant and just sitting there in the middle of the blue sky. And the Spirit communicates to me, and it says, look at the cloud. So I focus on the cloud, and I'm just laying there. Basically, I'm sitting on the chair, but I'm really just laying on the chair, and the chair is the only thing holding me up right now. And I'm looking at the cloud, and it says to me, close your eyes. So I close my eyes, and my eyes were closed for this long, just a quick, that's how long they were closed before it said, open your eyes. And I opened my eyes, and everything I saw changed. Everything I saw was a blue sky and a white cloud. And that all changed. And the colors of the sky were like the colors you would see at a sunrise or a sunset. The whole sky just turned beautiful. Beautiful, just a gold, beautiful golden, everything was just beautiful. And the cloud, which was just a regular cloud, was just a strip. And as far as I can see, from my peripheral vision, from the left to the right, it's just this long strip of the cloud. And I was floored, without words. And I remember the first thought that I had was impossible. That is impossible. This is impossible. And the moment I thought that, it communicated to me without words, mind you. This is so hard to explain, so hard to articulate. You just know that you know that you know this thing is just, it's in you. And I thought impossible. And I'm thinking, every car on the road and on the other side would just plow into each other. There'd be a whole bunch of accidents. People freaking out. Something like this happened, And it immediately let me know that no one could see what I was seeing except for me. That was the message. That's what it was. It was giving me that, this is for you. No one can see this but you. And then, now what I'm going to describe is this is when it happened. This is when all this is the pinnacle of it, is when it happened. And as I'm viewing, and as I can see, mind you that the Spirit, you can't see everything is through the Spirit. So I can't actually see this, but you know where everything is going on. Everything around you, everything going around you in the Spirit. It's a better sense than any of our senses. And it was almost like a razor blade. Almost like a razor blade just slit open. And it was just like a crack opened up in heaven. Almost like a door or a window was just barely opened. Just enough to let a little bit out. And what happened next, it was like being just blown away. I'm talking blown away, like having your bones ripped out of your body. And I just got hit. I am just smashed. I am crushed by just a little bit of this love. Undescribable love. You cannot even touch. You can't experience. This love just hits me like blown away, where I'm just tossed back in my chair. And it's the most purest form of love. So pure, so undescribable. Just hit, it just goes right through my whole being, just pierces right through my body. And I just go limp. I just go ragdoll. These things that you just get, you hear people use the expression, the glory of God, or the religious, usually through some religious outlet, glory be to God, whatever it may be. And I'm telling you, I felt the glory of God. And there's nothing like it. Nothing like it. The only thing that I even remotely comes close to what it felt like was the moment I held my son when he was born, and just the love I had for you mothers and you fathers. You remember, if you really just think back about that day, and you know what I'm talking about, when we were in that hospital and you just held on to your son or your daughter for the first time, and you just felt that love toward that child. You couldn't multiply that love by a million times a million times a million, would not touch the love that God has for us. Everything that we do in this life, every single thing that we do is a projection of ourselves onto other things. You know, I love my brother. I love my mom. I love my dog. Whatever it is, it comes out of you and it's a projection, but you can never experience someone else's love onto you. It's not something you can feel the same way you project it. And this thing is projecting its love onto me. And it's the most purest, strongest, just pure is the only word I can muster up to describe this love. There's nothing in this world that you can experience, nothing on planet Earth that you can experience that can even remotely come close. I don't care if you walk out of an AM/PM with a $500 million lottery ticket. I don't care if you're on some island living out your Corona dream, sitting on a beach in the Bahamas. That peace, that love, that joy, everything that you experience on earth, every single thing, there is nothing like being in the presence of God. And it was, I'll never forget that day. And for the first time in my life, that was so pure and so holy and so perfect love. So good. It was too good. No drug on earth. There ain't nothing you can experience. There's nothing better than being in the presence of God. And we can all say, oh, I love my kid, or I can say something to you like, I love, my son, and you can relate to that if you have a kid. Oh, I love my son. You know what I'm talking about. And if I said I love Super Burritos, yeah, I love Super Burritos too. And I say, God loves us, and your shoulders go up. You can't relate that to anything unless you've experienced being in the presence of God. And I know that as I'm speaking and I'm giving this testimony, I know it. But I'm doing the best I can. And as this thing is just hitting me, it's just blowing through me. It was the first time in my life that I felt sin. And I'm sinless. I'm without sin. If someone says, you have sin, or you're living in sin, or you're going to hell because of sin, or any of that stuff, I would have said, get the blank out of my face. You might get hit. That's the type of person I was. That was the most incredibly offensive thing to me before all this was going on. And I felt sin. It was so pure and so holy and so good. And me just being so weak before its presence. And I'm still calling it it, because that's what it was to me at that time. It was it still. And it was God. And bringing the presence of God and just immediately just having an understanding from that day on and forever past that moment, I have sin in my life. I am sinful. God loves me more than I can't comprehend. And even saying that, I feel that he just showed me a little bit, because I feel if he swung that door open, I would have just died flat. You can't stand in the presence of God as we sit with in our hands, our feet, our flesh, our blood. You can't be in his presence with sin. And you can read about it, you can have someone sit you down and open up a Bible, and it's just a man to another man teaching, but unless you receive that in spirit from God, you can't grasp it. You can't comprehend what that actually means in reality. And being so full of sin, being so unworthy of the love that God has toward us. Okay, because I'm not special. Okay, I am not special. It's not like God loves this person more than this person. Not the way this works. This is for every single. So this is for you also. You're watching this video. This is also for you. As you're sitting in your chair, whatever you're doing right now, you're listening to me speak. You can bow your head down and just know in your heart of hearts that everything that I'm speaking, it also applies to you also. This is not something special about me. It's not about me. I'm nobody. I told you who I was. Being sinful. And I'm just crying. These tears, it's like waterfalls. I'm just crying in his presence, in God's presence. And it just backed off me a little bit. And I'm done. I am done. I'm rubber. There is no strength left in me. And I remember just mustering enough strength where I'm able to crawl back into my apartment. And it took me a while to comprehend all of this, to swallow that pill, to wrap my mind around what's going on, this whole thing that's going on. And this is how merciful, and I can use these words now. You read them, people don't know, however it is, I can apply these words. And when I hear God's mercy, when I hear God's long suffering, God's love now, it all hits home. It all hits home. And he was so merciful and so loving. And he knew what he did to me. And he knew how weak I was. And he knew what he had put me through. And he backed off of me. And I have felt that presence now. It's just a loving presence. I can feel it from that day on. It was just this presence in my apartment, almost like he's just watching me. Sometimes I tell my friends, he's like the watcher, man. He's always there. He was always there. He's always there. Even if you don't know he's there. Even as you're listening to this video right now at home, wherever you are watching this, he is literally right next to you, watching you watch this video. He's the watcher. He knows what's in our hearts. He knows our thoughts. You can speak to him, and he is listening. Okay? And I'm not thinking any religion. Still, I'm just thinking God and love, and I'm just unworthy of all of it, and I'm just sinful. It's pure and just holy, and I'm just so not good enough and undeserving. And he gave me time. He gave me a lot of time where he was with me, like I said, but I would just sit, and he just let me have my time alone to really just grasp and really think and really just take in everything that was going on. And I remember maybe a week went by, and I'm just going through the thoughts and all this stuff, and all these things were going on in my mind. And I remember the day where I was just grasping somewhat to my ability, where I was just kind of I took in it. And as soon as I was ready, as soon as he felt I was ready, he came back, okay? And he came back, and the Spirit entered my body again, once again. Comes back in. And the message is, go to the bookstore. There's a little bookstore around the corner from where just right around the corner. I can throw a rock at it. And they sell used books. And it was saying, go to the store. Get the kids. I had my boys with me at the time. Get the kids and go to the store. So I get in my truck and I go to the store, and I don't know what to expect. Here I am. I'm being led by the Spirit of God to go to a bookstore, and I don't know what book I'm getting. I don't know if I'm getting a Buddha book. I'm going to, what kind of religion book, or I don't know what's going on. I'm not fixated on any one thing. And I go to the store, and it's a used bookstore. And I go to the religious aisle, and I'm sitting there staring at all these books. They have a whole wall of books. And I'm sitting there, I'm just staring at them. And my kids, they'll remember this. I asked them about it. They remember, they bring it up. Dad stared at the books for about an hour, 2 hours. And I just stared at the books. And every time I went to go grab a book, this thing would keep me from grabbing a book. And my hand would come down. I go to the next one. I grab it or open it up. And it just was telling me like, no. And I put them back. And I literally went through each book they had. Every single book I picked up that day, I picked each one up and it's telling me to put it back. And I was just confused, and it's, what am I doing? You know, I'm here and I can't, it's telling me not to grab these books. And so I call up the only Christian I know. I got his number on my phone, and I call him up, and hey, I'm at the bookstore and I want to buy a Bible, and I don't know which one to get. And they have all these translations, and I thought different Bible translations were like different different languages. Like one translation from another. One's in, Spanish and one's in Korean. I thought they were actually different translations, different languages. But there's actually different translations of Bibles, and where it's just worded differently. And he was telling me, oh, well, grab this one. This is what I read. And I'm like, no, I can't be right, because that's the one I can't buy. I can't get it. So I hang up with him. And I'm, and this is someone like, geez, what's going on? What's going on? And I remember just going up to the lady at the counter, and I just tell her, I say, hey, I'm here to buy a Bible, because that's where the Spirit was leading me, to the Bibles. Okay. And I said, I don't know which one I'm supposed to get, but you don't got it. You guys don't have it here. And she laughs at me and she goes, you're looking for the King James Version. And it's like a light clicked on, like just a light popped up. This thing was like, yes. So don't ever let anyone tell you that there's no difference between Bible translations. I don't care if it's a 80-year pastor sitting you down saying all Bibles are the same, because they are not. Not because I say so. Not because I say so. Okay? Not because of me. She says, we don't have that. We have this long list of people. We're a used bookstore. When they come in, we call them up. We can put your name on the list. It's going to take too long. Go to Barnes & Nobles. So I go to Barnes & Nobles, and same thing. All these different translations. And I literally had to get on my hands and knees on the bottom shelf to grab the King James Version, which is the original Bible. The original printed, in the 1800s or something. It's the original manuscript that all other translations are based on. It's like the father of Bibles, and everything else is just reworded and retranslated, and it's not the original. And I grabbed this book, being led by the Spirit, and having no idea what the Spirit is, having no idea what's in the Bible, and I take it home, and I'm so excited. And as soon as I bought it, the Spirit put so much joy and peace in my heart. Like, it just projected this love and this peace and joy, and I felt like a baby, just so innocent and happy, and just like I was coming home with like the coolest present I ever got. And it projected that onto me. It wasn't for me. And I remember coming home, and I was just so jittery and happy, and I put it on my lap, and it's a Bible, and that's still in the back of my mind. And wow, God, the Bible, this stuff is real. this stuff is real. You know, and I remember just sitting there, and this stuff is real. I thought it was fairy tales. I thought the Bible was a bunch of old men, you know, chewing on mushrooms thousands of years ago. It's all rewritten or changed over the years. It's not gonna blah, blah. I just thought, right? You don't think about it. You just don't believe it. And I sat it down on my lap, just happy. And where do I start? I'm gonna page one. I'm gonna start from the page one, I guess. I don't know what I'm doing. And it said no. Let's start on the New Testament, not even knowing what the New Testament was. And I opened to the New Testament. The first book in the New Testament is the book of Matthew. And this Spirit of God, and I'm not thinking Jesus. There was God that I felt, well, I thought I felt, and then there was Jesus, which is this other person that I'm just unknown to. You can write a big question mark on this Jesus character in my heart, is how I felt at the time. Who is this guy? I had no idea. The only thing I knew about Jesus is what the world had projected of who he is, right? Everyone knows Jesus, because we get this stuff. Religion puts you in a headlock and they just, you know, it shoves it down your throat. We all know Jesus died for your sins, or Jesus loves you. You know, and I was at a point in my life where the next person that tells me Jesus loves me, I'm just going to get away from. I'm sick and tired of hearing about how Jesus loves me. I'm sick and tired of hearing about how he died on the cross for my sins, when there ain't no such thing as sin. This is all the stuff that I believed prior to all of this. And I started reading Matthew. And his spirit's just pumping, man. Just pumping, just like love and just joy and peace. And the words are just coming off the pages and piercing me. And it was just this experience as I'm learning. And I'll tell you this also, the Jesus that I came to know is not the same Jesus that the world projects onto people. They're two totally, in fact, I often say the closer I get to Jesus, the further away I get from the Jesus that the world talks about. Okay? Two totally different Jesus. You got the one that's make-believe by people, religion, and then you have the one, the true Jesus, the real life Jesus, who he is, what he is. And I began to build my relationship with him. And he was with me the whole time as I began to read Matthew. Every day, I remember coming home from work, and I would literally speed. Anyone knows me knows Zach don't speed, man. I stay in the slow lane. I'm a slow roller. I remember just flying down the road. I just want to get home and get back in the book and just, wow, this is who Jesus is. Jesus said some crazy stuff, man. Jesus is dope, man. Jesus is cool. Jesus, man, said some wild stuff. He's way cooler, way doper than religion or the stuff that I thought he was. And then I get mad at how do you live all your life without this? And I still think about that to this day. I live my whole life believing lies. Okay? Believing lies. It's all a lie. And I can say this, and I know from experience that he's even hearing this, there's still parts of people that just, I get, you know, but the Bible is, it's like, I can't accept the Bible. I can't accept this stuff. It doesn't matter if you accept it or not. Your believing or not believing in Jesus is not a prerequisite as to whether he is or is not real. And I know this now, and I can say this now, and I can say it firmly, okay, that whether you believe in him or not does not dictate whether he is or is not real, or how we feel about all this stuff. Well, the world was this old, and we came from monkeys, and all this crap, and all this trash, and all this garbage. You're going to live your life pointless, without meaning, spiritually dead. Okay? The whole point, the whole purpose of our being, of being alive, the only reason why you're even here alive on planet Earth is to come into the body of Christ Jesus, who is the Son of the living God, who died for us on the cross. It was resurrected on the third day. There is nothing beyond that. Nothing beyond that. Everything else is a distraction. That is the only thing that matters. And I'm even saying this now, I can feel the Lord on me, just pleased with what I'm saying. And just tell them, Zach. Just tell them, Zach. I can feel it. Just tell them, let them know. Because they don't believe in me. They don't believe I'm real. And when you read, and I want to say I encourage you, but what I really want to say is you better go get your butt down to a Bible store right now and grab a book and start reading the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's really what I want to say. And you read, and every single thing that Jesus said is true. The only truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth that was ever spoken on planet Earth were the words that came out of Jesus' mouth. There is nothing else beyond that. He is the Son of the living. God came to earth in the flesh and delivered a message to you and has been sitting there for 2,000 years. Okay? And it's sitting in some bookstore or in your apartment and it's got dust on it. And you are robbing yourself. Okay? Robbing yourself of so much joy and peace and happiness that cannot be attained from any other place other than through Him. And giving your life, and not only just reading the Bible, but applying the scriptures to your life. And I always tell people it's just easy. You just forgive, you just love, you don't judge your brothers, your sisters. We're all here trying to find our way back home. That's the whole point of our existence, is trying to, and home is in Jesus Christ and His holy arms. Okay? I thank the Lord. And when you see the stuff I put, whatever it is, when you see Christians, and all that stuff, and you have these things start popping up, I hope you remember and you receive something, or I hope that the words I spoke today just really touch you, you know, and really pull. I pray that that He just tugs. Well, only like He can do. I can't do it. I can't make it happen. But the offer is available to anyone who it's there for you to have. You can lay hold of that. You can have that joy. You can experience God. Okay? You can have treasures and even since what I'm telling you right now, all the way until today, I would talk into the night until when the sun came up of everything that I've experienced, all the miracles, all the testimony, which is not my testimony, it's a testimony of Jesus Christ, and the things that I have seen, that impossible, just I remember, it's just all this was impossible, it's impossible, it's impossible. The way He's able to manipulate the world we live in, how is this possible? And to finally just, He is the creator, Jesus is the creator, God and Jesus, they are one. They are one. This is this world is just a place that was created. You know, we have this thing where we just believe that the universe and Earth is just a small little rock floating around. Well, that's a lie. Okay, because Earth is the center of the universe, and people don't like that. Well, too bad, because it is. And the center of everything is us. That we are the focal point. We are not purposeless. We are not here to just work, to pay our bills, to die, and just hope our kids have a better life than we do. That's a trap. And I encourage each and every single one of you guys, anyone watching this video, if you got my number, if you leave me a message on YouTube, any questions that you have, feel free to ask. Don't hesitate. Ask away. I I pray that you receive this message, and I thank you for watching this testimony. Jesus' testimony. Jesus' testimony. Thank you so much for watching. And I hope that the Lord blesses each and every one of you the same way he has me. God bless.